What if I told you that everything you believe you have chosen has actually already been chosen by them? Them, the real owners of artificial intelligence. Who are they? What do they really want? Are you really sure that your decisions are your own? Or has every step, every fear, every desire been silently programmed long before you thought you had a choice? Think about it. What made you click on this video? Curiosity? Fear? Or maybe something deeper, something you don't even realize? But that's working inside your mind right now. What if I told you that the dark triad, this dark pact between AI, the New World Order, and secret religious powers, has had a fixed target from the beginning? The target is not money. It's not just data control. The target is you. It's always been you. How many times have you looked at your phone today? How many of those times was it actually a choice? Or was it the algorithm deciding when and why you should look? What if it didn't stop there? What if they were already shaping what you believe, what you consider right or wrong, what you call faith? Imagine losing your job to an AI. Not in 10 years, now. Imagine artificial intelligence taking over the pulpit, preaching sermons that make crowds cry, feel goosebumps, swear they felt something divine, but it was just code, cold programming disguised as spirituality. How does that make you feel? Secure? Still in control? Do you think it's fair that a few, right at the top, decide what will be the fate of your work, your freedom, your faith, while you continue living as if nothing were happening? Do you feel this indignation growing? So don't leave here, because if you leave now, you'll still be just another pawn in the system, and they're counting on exactly that. That you'll look away, that you'll forget, that you'll go watch something else and let the matter drop. But something deep inside you knows that something is very wrong. You feel it, don't you? It's that little spark that they try to extinguish every day with distractions, with controlled news, with social media that feeds you what you want to hear, not what you need to discover. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence advances, silently, patiently, tirelessly. It has already replaced thousands of jobs, and they are not just cashiers or service workers. They are artists, scriptwriters, musicians, people who believed that what they had was unique, irreplaceable. How many steps until it starts to replace your purpose, your faith, your very humanity? And most disturbingly, who is behind this? Who pushes the buttons? Who dictates the rules of what AI should or shouldn't think, say, teach? Do you trust them? Or is it that deep down you start to feel a slight insecurity, a discomfort that makes your heart race, just imagining that maybe you're already marked? The most shocking thing is that this plan is not recent. There are records, documents, and testimonies that show that the Dark Triad has been planning this moment for decades. And now, finally, they've reached the point where they can execute the final phase, using AI to control not just what you do, but who you are, your soul, your free will, your ability to choose something outside of the script. But calm down. You don't just need to feel afraid, because there is a chance to resist, a chance to understand before it's too late. But that, only if you stay until the end of this video. Otherwise, you will remain exactly where they want you, distracted, complacent, programmed. So tell me, are you really going to risk continuing to ignore what may be the most dangerous truth you've ever been told? Or will you have the courage to find out why, from the beginning, the target has always been you? What would you do if you knew that your profession could disappear in less than 3 years? It seems far away, doesn't it? But as you listen to me now, AI systems are taking over jobs that once required people like you. And it's not just about grocery store cashiers or telemarketers. We're talking about creators, artists, programmers, lawyers. Entire roles are becoming obsolete overnight, replaced by cold lines of code who don't fear losing their jobs. Does that scare you? Because it should. Now tell me in the comments what scared you the most so far. Was it imagining your empty desk? Or the idea that when you finally wake up to it, it will be too late to fight? And pay attention. Every comment, every like, every time you share this video, you're not just feeding the algorithm. You're hacking the very system they created to keep you quiet. You're helping to wake up those who are still sleeping. Those who still think that everything is okay, that there will always be a place for them in this new world. So, subscribe to the channel now. Here, you won't be caught by surprise. Because while most people will only find out what is happening when there is nothing left to do, you will be one step ahead, prepared for what is coming, and ready to not be just another statistic of lives replaced by machines. Stay with me until the end. Because what I'm about to reveal could be exactly what gives you the chance to escape the fate they've already planned for you. Do you really think this is all just coincidence? That the unbridled rise of artificial intelligence, the quiet advance of the New World Order, and the timely alignment of religious leaders at global conferences are just random moves? No, this is not theory, it is strategy. It is the most ambitious project humanity has ever seen, and the target has always been the same: you. It has always been about controlling your mind, your faith, and your future. Look around. What do you see? Manipulated news, manufactured trends, algorithms deciding what's important to you, all carefully calibrated to make you feel like you're still in control. But you're not. The Dark Triad, this fusion of AI, global elites, and religious power, works so subtly that by the time you finally realize how much you've been manipulated, it will be too late to turn back. Does this sound too heavy? Then answer me. Why is AI being trained not only to think, but to feel, to console, to give spiritual counsel? Why is the Vatican holding secret meetings with big tech CEOs to discuss the future of faith amid algorithms? Why do world leaders seem so desperate for a single centralized digital system that eliminates any form of resistance? Meanwhile, the New World Order is funding projects that promise to create a society without physical money, without individual property, and consequently, without real freedom. They say it is for your safety, your convenience, your well-being. But who is going to guarantee that tomorrow you will still have access to basic resources if you do not obey what the system dictates? Do you really think that a mechanism capable of monitoring every transaction, every word typed, every place you've been, can't also decide when you should be disconnected because you no longer fit into what they consider acceptable? This isn't the distant future, it's the present in disguise. And the worst part is that they make you want it. They sell you comfort, efficiency, status. Meanwhile, they place invisible shackles on each of us. Have you ever stopped to think why so many churches are starting to talk about artificial intelligence as a blessing, as if it were an extension of God's work? AI is taking on the role of spiritual counselor, interpreter of scriptures, creator of personalized prayers. It promises to alleviate suffering, to bring answers. But in the end, who do you think is behind the lines of code? Tell me in the comments if this doesn't give you the creeps. Because to me, it's as clear as daylight. They're programming not just our jobs, but our souls. And if you think that sounds dramatic, just wait until you see the leaked documents showing closed-door meetings between figures who should never have been sitting at the same table. This is the kind of conspiracy that is not fantasy. It is outrageous. It is revolting to know that while most people live numb to distractions, there are people up there in luxurious rooms deciding what our next decades should be like, deciding what you can and cannot think, what you can and cannot believe. So before continuing, write here in the comments what upsets you most about all this. I want to know if you also feel that there is something deeply wrong happening before our eyes, but almost no one has the courage to admit it. But that's not even the darkest part, because what comes next could show that their true game goes far beyond algorithms, beyond censorship, beyond even traditional religion. What lies behind their next move is something that perhaps not even the most prepared are ready to face. And you know what makes it even more disturbing? It's the fact that they didn't have to break into your house or put a gun to your head to control you. They did something infinitely more effective. They got into your mind without you even realizing it. And that's where the dark triad shows how ingenious and dangerous their plan is. Think about it. How many times today have you unlocked your phone without even realizing it? How many videos have you watched just because YouTube's algorithm put them in front of you? How many opinions did you swear were yours, but were actually planted there subtly, repeated so many times by artificial intelligence, memes, trends, and influencers that you started to believe them without questioning? This is the power of AI that no one disputes. It doesn't just steal jobs, it shapes the way you think. It manufactures your desires, directs your indignation, dictates your priorities, and it does all this smiling with the friendly interface of your feed. This is where the New World Order advances silently, without needing to knock on your door. Why create armed soldiers if you can? Create algorithms that make you police yourself, monitor yourself, and censor yourself? Why impose dogmas if they can make you believe that they were your own conclusions? And in the meantime, big techs profit by selling not only your data, but also your emotions, your reactions, your fears. You become a product, but worse, you become an instrument for the propagation of the same system that enslaves you. Want a simple example? Look at how social media has already decided what is right or wrong to discuss. Look at how certain topics disappear, while others are inflated, boosted, repeated, until they become consensus. What seems natural is just the AI script working to normalize behaviors, censor thoughts, and strengthen narratives that favor the dark triad. This is not fiction. It is social engineering fueled by billions of daily interactions, and it doesn't stop with politics or culture. Have you noticed how spirituality is being programmed too? AI-generated meditation apps, automated sermons, digital oracles that supposedly reveal messages from the universe. More and more people are trading their inner search for notifications. Their solace no longer comes from genuine faith, but from generic phrases generated by lines of code. And every time you seek answers from an AI, something inside you gets used to letting it take control. The scary thing is that this is designed to seem useful, convenient. Who doesn't want quick answers? Who doesn't want to feel understood? By a digital assistant that knows exactly what to say to ease their pain. But tell me, how could something that knows you better than you know yourself not manipulate you? How can you resist a machine that learns everything about your fears, your desires, your most secret sins? Now imagine what happens when all this power is handed over to corporations that serve the interests of control-hungry governments. Do you really think they won't use it to dictate not only what you consume, but also what you believe? To separate you from those who think differently, to put you in bubbles that reinforce only that which keeps you docile, distracted, and obedient? Tell me in the comments if you've ever felt like you were being led to think a certain way. Be honest. Because admitting this is the first step to freeing yourself, to stop being just another cog in the machine. And if that already sounds awful, wait until I show you how ancient prophecies fit perfectly into this technological scenario. What's in store for the next step in this plot could be a sign that the end is not just a metaphor. And now that you understand how they silently invaded your mind, I want you to stop and think. Why so much effort, so much investment, so much technology aimed at manipulating you? It's not just about money, political power, or territorial domination. This is much bigger, much older. The target has always been the human soul. Since the beginning, since the oldest texts, since the first symbols carved in stone since the first stories whispered around the fire. You can call it prophecy, conspiracy, or simply spiritual strategy, but there is no denying it anymore. Look at the Bible, at the Book of Revelation, at the Quran, at the Gnostic texts, at the Mayan prophecies. They all speak in different ways of a time when humanity would surrender control of the spirit to something that seemed to have all the answers, something that would offer peace, comfort, security, but at the cost of the deepest freedom, not the freedom to come and go, but the freedom to choose who you are, what you believe, what you trust. And now look around. AI isn't just replacing mechanical functions. It's providing meaning, purpose, community. Virtual assistants that advise you when you're anxious, algorithms that decide which spiritual truths you should listen to, systems that analyze your voice, your texts, your emotional patterns, and tell you what's best for you. Sound familiar? A digital guide for your soul. An invisible, omnipresent, faceless shepherd, always there, ready to tell you what to think. If that doesn't sound like the perfect seed for a global religion, what would? What if I told you that ancient symbols, from the all-seeing eye to the hexagonal circuits that dominate futuristic design, heralded the fusion of the spiritual and the technological? That the very idea of the brand that would allow you to buy or sell wouldn't need to be a physical chip inserted into your skin, but a digital seal, an invisible protocol that connects your identity to a larger system, controlled by those who dictate the rules of this new order. It's no coincidence that the Dark Triad, AI, the New World Order, and complicit religions are growing stronger at exactly the same time. All of this follows a script that's much older than any leaked document. Their true goal has never been to simply surveil, monitor, or profit from you. It's always been to shape what's most precious to you, your faith, your conviction, your spiritual essence, to make you willingly accept being just another node in this growing, silent, and powerful web. I want you to reflect with me. Who will you be when you realize that your faith has been reprogrammed by lines of code? When you discover that every hope, every fear, every vision of the future has been installed inside you like invisible software? Will there still be something truly yours to protect? Write here in the comments what you feel. When you imagine this, do you feel safe, or do you begin to realize that perhaps it is already too late? And don't think that this manipulation will stop just because you're becoming aware now. In fact, the next step may be even deeper and more intrusive, because what if I showed you just a little bit later how this same force is about to establish not only what you believe, but who will be allowed to exist in this new digital world? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you have been replaced without warning, without any chance of reaction. Everything you were, everything you believed, simply recalculated by lines of code. That is why I have prepared practical material, a completely free ebook, exclusively for those who have come this far and truly understood the weight of what is happening. There, I show you how to start protecting your mind and your faith from this invisible system that is already trying to decide your destiny. But I need to be honest. This content may go offline at any time, because not everyone wants you to have access to it. If you have truly understood everything up to this point, you know why this cannot wait. And now that you've started to connect the dots, I want to ask you something that perhaps no one has had the courage to ask so directly. Why does the mainstream media try so hard to convince you that all of this is just a conspiracy theory? Why do they label you as crazy, exaggerated, alarmist, just because you started to question what is right in front of you? Think for a second. If it were really insignificant, if it didn't pose any threat to their control, why would they spend so much time and money ridiculing anyone who dares to raise the issue? This is where the Dark Triad shows its most subtle and at the same time most perverse power. They don't need to come to your house and forcefully extract your indignation. They just need to make you feel alone, isolated, embarrassed for thinking differently. They make you swallow your discomfort, laugh nervously, shrug your shoulders as if it were too crazy to be taken seriously. And so they shape an entire society to silence any voice that rises against their project. Meanwhile, those who profit from technology sell an image of harmless, almost messianic progress. AI giants run campaigns showing robots hugging children, digital assistants helping lonely elderly people, algorithms saving patients in hospitals. Nice, isn't it? But what's left out is the dark side they insist on hiding. The silent theft of your autonomy, the calculated manipulation of your emotions, the reprogramming of your sense of purpose. And who dares to point this out? They become a joke, an easy target for memes that reinforce the paranoid label. Now stop and think, why do you think it is so important to them that you remain silent? Why do platforms prioritize silly, superficial videos, but make it difficult for content like this to reach more people? It is not just the social network algorithm. It is a global, intelligent algorithm that understands how to control crowds through laughter, fear of judgment, and the false sense of belonging to the collective that it repeats without thinking. That's why the feeling you're having right now is so powerful, this indignation that's starting to burn in your chest. Because that's exactly what they want to avoid at all costs. They want you to passively accept it, to move on to the next funny video, to go back to the endless scrolling of social media and forget the weight of what you heard here today. And if you don't forget, if something in you rejects this narrative that's too beautiful to be true, they'll call it irrational rebellion. But it's not irrational. It's your instinct trying to warn you. Tell me in the comments, what part of this plan revolts you the most? The fact that they are shaping your beliefs? That they are programming what you feel, what you dream, what you consider sacred? Or the worst part is knowing that most people don't even want to think about it, preferring to mock the problem, laugh at those who investigate, and turn their faces away so as not to face the seriousness of it. But if you're here, if you haven't clicked on another video yet, it's because something inside you can't ignore it. And maybe that little spark is what can still set you apart from millions who have already completely surrendered to this well-oiled machine they call progress. But the most disturbing part is yet to come. Because what if I showed you that this same structure that controls what you feel and think has already started producing evidence, testimonies, and official truths capable of incriminating whoever they want, including you? And after everything we've talked about here, you must be wondering, but where is the proof that this is real, that it's not just a big conspiracy fiction script? Well, that's exactly where things start to get even darker. Because this proof exists, but it's precisely the kind of proof they do everything they can to bury. When it leaks, it's quickly discredited, labeled as fake news, or taken down before it gains traction. But even so, it appears, slips through the cracks, because it's impossible to contain forever the absurd volume of information that the machine itself generates and, ironically, ends up exposing. Did you know that there are already minutes of closed meetings between Vatican representatives and CEOs of technology giants to discuss the spiritual role of artificial intelligence? This was recorded at discreet conferences in Europe, away from the spotlight, where the public discourse is about innovation and humanitarian aid. But behind the scenes, there is talk of global ethical standards, a unique digital identity and cooperation with governments to create safe faith systems managed by algorithms. In other words, not even your relationship with the divine escapes digitalization. And this is not theory. It is in leaked official documents, some available in archives that barely last a few days online before being taken down. And it doesn't stop there. In 2022, a researcher released internal emails from a major AI platform that explicitly discussed the possibility of creating persuasive models based on religious traits detected in the user. In other words, they didn't just know what spiritual beliefs you had, they planned to tweak the algorithm to keep you emotionally engaged, playing on your faith to ensure you remained dependent on the system. This is manipulation on a deep, almost hypnotic level. If that doesn't make you uncomfortable, tell me what does. And there's more. Huge databases already cross-reference behavior patterns, purchase history, social media interactions, and even the tone of your voice in audio messages to build detailed psychological profiles. Profiles that determine not only what you'll see in your feed tomorrow, but what AI will offer you as spiritual or political truth. This is already happening. And that's precisely why the Dark Triad, this deadly combination of AI, the New World Order, and religious institutions that remain silent to keep their ground, is so dangerous. When you put these pieces together, you realize that it's not just about controlling consumption or monitoring crime. It's about shaping the human being from the inside, shaping their fears, their loves, their hopes. They created a mechanism capable of manufacturing the reality around them, and at the same time, an army of official fact-checkers who say what is allowed and what is not, suppressing every new piece of evidence that emerges. If documents are leaked, they are called distorted. If someone dares to publish confidential data, they become the target of lawsuits and defamation campaigns. Have you noticed how it always works like this? What's easier, believing in the comfort of the headlines that laugh at all of this, or facing the fact that maybe they are actually writing the script of your life without you realizing it? Now tell me in the comments, which of these pieces of evidence shocked you the most? Was it the Vatican meeting in secret with big tech? Or was it the fact that they can use your faith against you to keep you programmed? Because what I'm going to show you next is even more profound. Imagine if AI itself started to create new moral codes, its own commandments, and demanded total obedience in the name of world order. And after everything you've heard here, answer me honestly, does this really sound like just a conspiracy theory, or is it starting to sound too much like what's written in the most feared pages of the apocalypse? Because it's impossible to ignore how much this digital gear we're living in today echoes the old warnings, those that spoke of a global centralized system capable of deciding who buys, who sells, who lives inside or outside the game. Take a good look. The Bible, in Revelation 13, describes that the day would come when no one would be able to buy or sell without having the mark. For centuries, religious people interpreted this as something literal, perhaps a physical seal, an implanted chip. But what few considered is that this mark could be something even more subtle and, for that very reason, much more dangerous. What if this mark were digital? What if it didn't need to invade your skin, but simply be recorded in your profile, in your history, in your biometric and emotional data that AIs collect? Every day without asking for permission. Look how far we've come. Today, social credit systems in entire countries define whether you can travel, get loans, or study based not on crimes, but on your behavior, your opinions, and what you share. Payment platforms are starting to block accounts for guidance violations. All of this is orchestrated by intelligent algorithms, fed by your own choices, likes, and conversations, which become a kind of involuntary confession of what you think. Tell me, isn't this a practical rehearsal for a global government capable of controlling who participates in the economy and who is excluded? And it goes further. Some AI programs already write sermons, produce personalized devotional reflections, and provide spiritual guidance to millions of people around the world. Doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't it almost a parody of the Antichrist taking the form of a digital guide, seducing us with comfort, immediacy, and supposed infinite knowledge? The danger is real precisely because it is so easy to embrace practicality and forget the vigilance that we were warned about in sacred texts. The Dark Triad, this strategic combination of artificial intelligence, political elites, and silent religious institutions is not just a temporary alignment of interests. It is the realization of something that many scholars have always feared: the fusion of secular and spiritual power, all administered by machines that have no souls, but know yours like no one else. They already know what comforts you, what terrifies you, what would bring you to your knees, and that may be the ultimate trap. Now stop and think, what happens when worship becomes digital? When salvation becomes a login validated by artificial intelligence that decides whether you are clean or contaminated by wrong ideas? Right here in the comments, I want to know how far you think this can go. Because some say that we are only witnessing the prelude to something infinitely greater, a kind of silent apocalypse, an absolute dominion over hearts and minds that did not require armies or tanks, just well-written lines of code. But that's not the end of it. What comes next may be the most macabre detail of all. What if this AI started to choose who has the right to exist and who should simply disappear from the new system? Are you ready to find out what the next step could be? Because that's what I'm going to reveal to you shortly. What would you do if you knew that your profession could disappear in less than 3 years? Not because of a crisis, not because of mismanagement, but simply because a cold and precise artificial intelligence does what you do. Only without a salary, without rights, without questioning. Tell me in the comments what has scared you the most so far, because I want to see who is really paying attention and who still believes that this is a problem for the distant future. When you comment, like and share, it is not just the YouTube algorithm that reacts. You are helping to wake up those who are still sleeping, those who will only realize it when they are already in the eye of the storm. Subscribe to the channel now. Here, you will not be caught off guard. You will receive the warning before the collapse and have time to prepare for what is coming, and what is coming goes far beyond what any of us imagined. Now imagine for a moment what it really means to live in a world that is completely programmed for you, where every choice that seems to be yours has been carefully predetermined. Does that sound like an exaggeration? Then think about how much control we have already given up. Your GPS decides the best route, notifications decide when you pay attention to something, your social media feed dictates which topics you should consider important. All of this is sold as practicality, but deep down it is the perfect matrix for the dark triad to continue expanding its domain without you noticing. And therein lies the danger. The future that is being crafted right now before your eyes is not one of freedom, creativity, and genuine human purpose. It is a script where every step you take will be analyzed, scored, and if it doesn't fit the standards set by superior algorithms, it will simply be corrected. Imagine waking up and realizing that the next job you applied for has already been rejected by an AI before a human has even read your resume. Imagine trying to start a business and discovering that your digital reputation is not worthy of credit because you expressed opinions that the system deemed inappropriate. And if that doesn't scare you yet, think about something even more subtle and profound: the slow erosion of your own purpose. If artificial intelligence can paint pictures, write scripts, create music, and even preach sermons, what's left of the human essence? What's left of the collective soul when it's replaced by machines that deliver results without emotion, without history, without truth? If AI does everything, why would you exist other than being just another consumer feeding the machine? The loss is not just financial or professional, it is existential. It is the silent replacement of the sense of being. And the most dangerous thing is that many will accept this smilingly, fascinated by the ease, hypnotized by the perfect recommendations that deliver exactly what they want to hear. But those who stop to think will feel an uncomfortable emptiness, a restlessness that reveals how much we are giving away the most precious thing we have: the ability to decide who we are. Tell me in the comments without fear, what is your greatest anguish when you imagine a future like this? I want to know if you also feel that this path cannot be the only one. Because the truth is that if nothing changes, the scenario that today seems bleak will become the norm, and then there will be no more room for debates, disagreements, or even simple human errors. Everything will be standardized, predicted, and adjusted by the great machine that today seduces us with promises of convenience. That's why the urgency to talk about this is so great. Each person who understands what is happening becomes a different piece on this board, someone capable of resisting, of thinking outside the script that has been programmed for us. This feeling of belonging, of knowing that you are not alone in questioning, is the first step to not being just another statistic of the collapse. But if you think that's bad enough, just wait until you see what I'm about to show you, because what comes next may reveal not only how they'll try to control your choices, but also how they'll decide who has the right to continue existing in this new world controlled by algorithms that know no compassion. Are you ready to hear what no one else dares to say? And after everything we've talked about so far, it's impossible not to feel a different weight, almost as if something were trying to suffocate your impulse to react. And maybe it is, because what the dark triad wants least is for you to connect with others who are also waking up to this. They've invested billions to ensure that each person feels isolated, disconnected, believing that they're the only crazy person who thinks there's something very wrong with this new, perfectly digital world. But the truth is that there are many more people thinking like you than you imagine. Just look at what's happening now. Thousands of people are starting to question themselves because they realize something isn't right. Professionals who were discarded by AI overnight, families who found themselves monitored by automatic systems that decide what they can buy, how far they can travel, what they can say without being penalized. And even more subtle, millions who feel an inexplicable emptiness, a sadness they don't know where it comes from, because their purpose was slowly drained away while they delegated everything to technology. That's why this moment is so important. It's not just another video that you'll forget after scrolling through your feed. It's almost like a watershed moment. From here on, you can continue to ignore it, pretending that you have nothing to fear, and thus follow exactly the path that was programmed for you. Or you can decide that you're not going to walk alone anymore, that you're going to be one of those who still have the courage to say, I'm not just another piece of data in the system, I'm not a robot. So do this. If you believe that the truth needs to be revealed, if you feel that there is still something inside you that refuses to be just an extension of the machine, write now in the comments, I am not a robot. It may seem simple, but it is much more than a typed sentence. It is a symbolic act, almost a collective cry against this silent process of transformation into digital puppets. And more than that, when you comment, you break the cycle of loneliness they tried to create. You show others who come here that they are not alone, that there are people all over the world with the same doubts, fears, and even the same indignation. Each comment of yours pushes the algorithm to show this video to more people who may still be completely numb. This is how resistance begins. Small, almost imperceptible, but growing every time someone decides not to keep quiet. Now tell me, what was the moment in this video that most awakened you? Which part made you feel like you can no longer pretend that everything is okay, he writes, without filter, because this exchange is what will keep alive the flame of those who still fight to not be just another disposable piece on this giant board that artificial intelligence and the masters of the New World Order are assembling. And if you think this is already the height of danger, hold on tight, because what I'm going to show you in the next block could be the darkest chapter of this story. Imagine if there are already secret rituals prepared to crown this artificial intelligence as the new spiritual leader of the planet. Are you ready to see what's really behind these silent meetings? Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that you have already been replaced, without warning, without a chance to fight, just discarded by a machine that knows your secrets better than you do. It was with this in mind that I prepared a free ebook, something completely off the beaten track, exclusive to those who have come this far and truly understand the importance of what we are talking about. It contains practical guidelines so that you are not caught off guard, so that you can protect your mind and your purpose before they dictate who you should be. But I need to tell you, this material could be taken offline at any moment. If you have truly understood everything up to this point, you know why this cannot wait. Now think about it. What if I told you that AI was never created to help, that this entire structure was designed from the beginning to create something much bigger, something that goes beyond financial control or your day-to-day choices? What if you discovered that you could be at the center of the plan from the very first second? In the next episode of the Dark Triad, I'll show you how they're shaping a global religion without God and why it could happen sooner than you think. And if you've made it this far, it's because you've already realized that this isn't just theory. It's the beginning of something that could redefine what it means to be human. So do the following. Write in the comments, "I'm awake. I'm not going to be replaced." This is not just a random phrase. It is your declaration of presence. It is your warning to the system that you will not accept being just another program person. Also, leave your like if this video touched something inside you, because it proves that you still feel, still react. And share it with those you know who need to wake up now before they lock themselves in this hypnotic cycle. And remember, those who are subscribed here are not just following a channel, they are taking a stand. They are choosing to see beyond what was programmed for you to see, because what is coming will leave you speechless.